Thanks for tuning in to EDC Journeys. This is my comparison of the Manix 2 and the Manix 2 Lightweight. Enjoy! What's going on, EDC people, and what's our journey today? We have the Manix 2 Lightweight versus the Manix 2 Standard. Just like my Para 3 Lightweight in G10 comparison video, I'm going to do the same with the Manix. This Manix 2 is lightweight. It is in Rex 45, which is fun, and is on loan to me from LTK. If you're watching this channel, probably know his channel, Love Them Knives. If you don't, you should go check it out. It is very nice, and he is a good friend of mine, and I can't thank him enough for sending me some knives to look at, this being one of them. I happen to have the Manix 2 in its standard G10 form in S110V, and that's what I'm going to use as a comparison. So just like in the Para 3 video, we are going to assume that these are both the out-of-the-box standard S30V black. No, we're not discussing the scale. The steel types, or comparing what Rex 45 to S110V in this video. What we're doing is comparing the standard G10 version to the lightweight version. So to kick it off, I will tell you some simple specifications for it. They are both identical, ideally. They are about 8 inches overall, with a 3.5 inch blade, and if you go just by the cutting part, it is 3 inches, and that's rough. That's based on my own measurements, so you may double check that, especially since it's right on the edge for legal limit in some areas being 3 inches or 3.5. So you may want to double check not only your laws but those measurements, because hey, I'm not that reliable on math. This is the lightweight version. It's in FRN, and otherwise the blade is the same. The mechanism inside is still a ball bearing lock. As most of you know, if you watch my channel, I am using natural light. This is unfortunately the block in between the two windows, so the light may shift, but I believe that natural light will show the best quality color to you versus artificial lighting. Okay, so where do I start with this? Just like the Para 3 video, I am really totally unscripted here. So this could go all over the place. I have no idea how long it's going to be, and I don't know what I'm going to say yet. I have no pocket clip on my Manix right now. The pocket clip, I actually never had a pocket clip. This was from somebody else. A gift to me, and it didn't have the pocket clip, but it usually comes with that spoon, the standard Spyderco spoon pocket clip. And I'm looking around to see if I have a Spyderco laying around with one, and of course I do not. So one point of difference would be that this would have the spoon pocket clip, and this comes with the wire pocket clip standard out of the box. Okay. One thing that we can say about the Manix 2 is that at least it's still the spoon clip, but at least they prioritized putting it higher up and moving the lanyard hole over here, as opposed to putting the lanyard hole on top and having a huge amount of the knife sticking out of your pocket with the spoon clip, like the Para 3, for example. The nice thing about the wire clip, which I do have extensive background with because I carried the Spidey Chef quite often, is it is deep carry already. You can swap it both left and right hand, and it is great in and out of pocket. It is very easy to slide in and slide out. while it's nothing amazing to look at, it does work quite well. It functions amazingly as a pocket clip. And it's very unassuming when it's in pocket. It doesn't look like very much. In fact, you can barely see it because of its design. Okay, that said, like I was saying, the ball bearing locks are the same idea, where you have on both sides you have the little lever, plastic pull down buttons to release, and your blade drops. Same with the G10. My G10 makes a very metal clicky sound when it drops. I don't know if that's normal. You hear that? I don't know if that's normal, but it does. So, anyways, someone can let me know down below if the standard G10 model normally does that. Okay, so that having been said, I'm going to tell you, just like I said in the Pair 3 lightweight versus G10 video, that I have a natural bias towards G10. I just do. It feels better in my hand. It feels more, I don't want to say luxurious, because G10 is not really luxurious, but FRN just feels cheaper to me. It feels like a plastic knife, which is quite literally what it is. So this is a beautiful Rex 45 knife, but automatically I have a problem with the handle because I just don't like FRN. But I will try my best to leave that out of the equation as we compare these two knives. Okay, excuse me. So right off the bat, let's also get through the price difference. Again, assuming that we're talking about the standard S30V, well, okay, that's a point of contention right there. Let's compare. Well, okay. Let's say we're talking about the standard bottom, entry level Manix 2 in G10 and the entry level Manix 2 lightweight. The cost is about $126 for the G10 version and about $105 for the lightweight version. Now, obviously, both of these are not S30V or the standard version, so the cost of the Rex 45 and S110V are both going to be higher and different. But we are assuming that these are the bottom standard, basic level, entry level Manix 2s. And of course, as the day moves on, the shade is moving and the natural light is changing, so I'm trying to move with it. But one thing to take note of is the basic entry level Manix 2 with G10 is S30V blade seal. The entry level lightweight is BD1 blade steel, from what I can see. Not BD1N, but BD1. And there is a big difference between BD1 and BD1N. BD1 blade steel has not got a great reputation as far as I know, and I'm going to end the conversation about steels there because I'm still not going to, this isn't about S30V versus BD1. However, you should look into that because that may be something that changes your mind on this completely. All right, so back to where we're talking. This is the lightweight model. It's FRN. It's got the burnt orange scales because it is the Rex 45 model, but it would be black scales if it was the standard entry-level Manix lightweight. You can see the regular coil spring there, and it has it's a ball bearing lock, so there is a ball bearing in there that you can't see, unfortunately, that rolls against the edge of the blade, the tang, I guess, of the blade, and is what locks it in place. It's well known as a very secure lock. It's nice that it's ambidextrous. If you swap this clip to this side, the lefties are going to have the same experience as the righties. So that's great. While we're still kind of on the topic of pocket clips, just like the Pair 3 lightweight, the landing zone of the pocket clip is on this little spider design for this Spyderco logo, and it's kind of smooth. So entry into pocket and out of pocket is going to be far less eaty. It's not going to eat as much of your pocket because it's a smooth landing zone. Whereas wherever your pocket clip is on the G10 model, no matter what pocket clip it is, whether it be aftermarket or not, it's going to land on the G10, and the G10 has a reputation of eating pockets. Now, you could go ahead and lightly sand down, the area that your pocket clip would land on, so that it would be a little bit less of a pocket eater, but that's up to you and not really having to do with what we're talking about today. And we're still sliding more and more to the left here as the shade changes. Okay, so right off the bat, let's talk about the weight because, hey, that's kind of the big deal here. Okay, so we are in ounces. The standard G10 comes in at pretty much 4 ounces. The FRN comes in at 2.9, let's say 3 ounces for argument's sake, being a full 1 ounce lighter than the G10 variant. Now, this does have no pocket clip, but the pocket clip is really almost nothing in weight anyway, so let's just say it's a 1 ounce difference regardless. And that just so happens to be the exact difference between the Para 3 in G10 and the Para 3 in lightweight is 1 ounce. So in hand, I would have guessed it was more than an ounce just based on feel, but this feels much lighter, but hey, that's what it weighs out to be. Okay, now there's a whole topic of conversation we could have about the strength of FRN versus G10 with the steel liners. Again, I'm biased towards the G10. I believe in my heart and soul that this is a stronger handle than FRN is. But I have seen the tests. I know that it's strong. You can kind of see in there. That's cool. I'm trying to get in the light so you can see. There's like a cage mechanism that holds the ball bearing. It's interesting to see. You should watch a disassembly video. I will probably never do one because it is a pain to do on this particular knife. And on that point, the lightweight model, you can maintain it. You can open the blade, take the pivot out, and remove the blade to service it or oil it or clean it, but that's all you can do. The rest of these are riveted so that you can't take these scales apart unless you drill through them and drill them out and redo them, as opposed to the standard G10 model where it's got the Torx bits that you take off and theoretically take apart, but as I said, we are not going to do that because the ball bearing lock mechanism is a pain to deal with and I don't want to do it. Okay, so comparing the two, they're the same size, they're the same general shape, obviously. Yes, the thumb things are the same, and I believe they're the same material even. Okay, so mark 1 point for the fact that you can take this one apart and clean it thoroughly. I firmly believe that you should be able to take apart your pocket knife. Not that I would want to do the Manix, but just because you should be able to clean it thoroughly and maintain it as needed. And here you simply can't, unless you do permanent changes to it, which will absolutely void your warranty. Not, of course, Spyderco's warranty is questionable because they say you can't disassemble it totally anyways, but whatever. I'm just saying that you can take this fully apart, whereas this you can't unless you do permanent work to it. Okay, that's number one for this knife. As for the FRN model, not that it really matters because you can't take it apart, but it doesn't have the lanyard tube, which we know is a bone of contention to many people because it is kind of peened on there. So when you take it apart to maintain it or clean it, you can kind of slide the scales so that you can access the inners and clean it really well, and then slide it back. Or you can ultimately pop it off, and some people have varying success with that when they are replacing scales, for example. That's another point. When you buy the lightweight version, you're going to pretty much be stuck with that color, as you can't change the scales no matter what, whether you want to take the Manix apart or not. So theoretically, to have a Rex 45 Manix 2, you are going to have this burnt orange color, unless you can dye it or something, and I don't know anything about that. And I don't think the average Joe walking into the store where these are both hanging on the shelf, let's say, is going to know about RIT dyeing or anything, and I don't know about it, so I can't speak to it. Yes, I know you can dye G10, but I don't know much more than that, and I'm not getting into that. That's not really important to me right now. So, that's important to know, though, that this is permanently together. Yes, you can take the blade out and clean it and put it back in, but you can't take it fully apart, and that is important to me. As far as the jimping is concerned, well, let me see if I can show you a better, this is a better example. Let me close the blades. Take a look. Here you have metal jimping, and it's also metal on the bottom here. Okay, it's definitely more aggressive, and it's also in there, and I can feel it, and it works a lot more, at least in my opinion. On the FRN, you have FRN jimping, which, yes, I feel. And is it effective? It's not. It's more effective than I thought it would be, but I don't think it's as effective as the metal. I just simply don't. Now, in some ways, I like that, because there are days that I feel like that the Manix is over jimped, if that's a word. Where yes, I know a lot of people like the jimping all the way around it, but sometimes I don't like it. It's just too much. But that's an argument for another day. On this one, if you don't like the jimping that much, I suppose that's a good thing. But it's far less substantial on the FRN lightweight model. And let's see here. Well, again, I suppose since we're on the topic of the scales and disassembly and all of that, excuse me, the topic of modding and upgrading and changing scales, that's going to go towards the G10 as well, where you can actually take it apart with Torx bits and change maybe to the Flytanium cage, or I know they have like titanium or copper or brass. I don't know what you want to call these. We'll call them finger switches, I guess. Or third party scales. Where on this guy, as far as I know, again, you're just limited to being able to take out the blade to service, to clean the pivot and put it back in. You can't take it apart to change the scales. So that's going to be another thing to think about. Now, here's the deal. If a regular person, I think we've done all we can here with moving to the left. If a regular average Joe is walking into the store and wants to buy a knife, and they're buying this for a one-time purchase, they're not going to be looking to do the upgrades. This is kind of leaning the same direction as the Para 3 argument went, now that I'm thinking about it. But if you're that average person, the weight obviously has to go towards the lightweight model. It's a full ounce lighter. But the difference between the lightweight Manix, to me, and the lightweight Para 3 is that you have a whole lot more handle here than you did on the Para 3 lightweight. And that means that you have a whole lot more FRN. And that's a whole lot more of the material that I just personally don't like. So my bias is really coming into to play here, unfortunately, and I'm trying to really hard not let it do that. Okay, if I was a normal, average, everyday person, oh gosh, that would be weird, walking into the store, what would I think? Well, I can tell you right now, if I could feel it in a brick and mortar store, I would feel that the G10 version balance-wise and weight-wise, I would feel was worth more. To me, this feels like it's worth more, just in my own brain. That's just, I don't know that that makes sense. It just feels like it's a more substantial, and then I'm getting more for my money somehow. Whereas this one, it feels like from here down is like a cheap knife. And it's not a cheap knife. And I know that the build on it is great. And I know that Spyderco's FRN is wonderful. And it's probably just as strong if, hey, you could argue that it's stronger than the G10, whatever. But to me, this whole half of the, I mean, the balance point, I mean, this is not my knife, so I'm trying to be careful. It is definitely not right there. Let's see here. If I can stay still, I'm shaking in front of the... Yeah, it's hard. I guess it's kind of like right... Well, it's somewhere right in here, so it's pretty hard to figure out. On here, the balance point is very easily right there, which is right where your finger goes. So if I were feeling these two knives, I would definitely say that this feels better in hand. Now, it doesn't have a clip on it, so it has real ultimate comfort right now as far as I'm concerned, because that spoon clip obviously has something, some play in it. This wire clip is very comfortable, and I don't feel it pretty much at all. So, the clip goes to the lightweight without a doubt. It comes with the standard deep carry wire clip, as well as with the clip on. I have no comfort issues whatsoever. The ergonomics are great. Where this one, it's hard, I don't have a clip on it, so it's hard to really pretend, but I know that the spoon clip I could feel, so, and I know that it's not deep carry because the spoon clip is like way down here. So, the clip definitely goes towards the lightweight model. What else would I think about if I were just walking into a store? And again, like I said, it lands on that one smooth spot, so it definitely would eat your pocket less. The metal, the steel, I said I didn't want to talk about it, but I have to, because the basic models are different steels. This would be S30V and this would be BD1. And that is big difference. There is a big difference between BD1 and S30V. And I'm doing this on knives that are neither of those steels, so this is very confusing. This is really S110V, and as I said, this is really Rex 45, so you're pretending here with me, right? You're pretending that this is the basic black S30V Manix 2, and this is the basic black lightweight Manix 2 in BD1. If I knew anything about BD1 or steels, I would automatically go with the S30V model. I really would, based on feel and the way it feels and the steel alone. If I didn't know the difference between the two, and we're talking a price of, let's see, it's $126 or so for the G10 model of the entry-level Manix 2, about $105 for the BD1 Manix 2, the lightweight. So we're talking about a $20 difference here. $20. Are you going to upgrade the clip? You can, you don't have to. Boy, this is tough, guys. This is harder than the Para 3 in a way, because the Para 3, you almost have to upgrade the clip, and you can disassemble completely. And the starting steel, I believe, is either S30V or BD1N. And the difference is huge between BD1 and BD1N. And this is turning into a steel conversation when I really didn't want it to. But I guess, pound for pound, if I were at 126, say 125 for the sake of it, and 105, so you're talking $20 difference. This would be $20 more. I would go this way. I would go with the G10 for $20 more and take the chance of either being able to or not upgrading the clip, or just not having it on there at all, as opposed to the lightweight. I really think I would. Now, if the situation was different, if we weren't looking at basic entry-level models and we were talking, Rex 45 versus this and that, that makes a huge difference. Rex 45 is an awesome steel. How does it compare to S110V? I would have to research that a little bit, to be honest with you. I really don't know a whole lot about the difference between these two. I have a feeling that Rex 45 is better. I'm not sure how much better or in what ways it's better than S110V. If I remember right, and this could be totally wrong, so I hesitate to even say it, but if I remember right, Rex 45 is I don't want to say it can patina, but it's got less. How do I say this? S110V has more corrosion resistance than Rex 45, I believe. But now we're way the heck off topic, because I was trying to say that we weren't talking about these models in front of us, but we were talking about the entry level. Let me think for a second here. Let me just look at these two knives. Man, it's hard, because this is so much different than the Para 3 lightweight. It's so much more FRN, and it's so much more of the material that I dislike, that it's hard for me to decide between, or to take, not to decide between, but to keep my bias out. On this particular example, all things being equal, black entry level, this one lightweight, this one G10, this one BD1, this one S30V, for $20 more, I would go with the G10. It's more substantial, as I say. It feels better. It's more balanced to me. It feels like more of a regular solid knife. That 1 ounce doesn't bother me so much at all. Now, if you're looking for something specifically lightweight, that's a whole nother story. If that 1 ounce is a huge factor to you, then maybe this is an okay choice. But if you know anything about the steels, if you know that BD1 is not the same as BD1N, if you know that BD1 has some issues, and you have a bias, gosh. If somebody didn't know the difference between the steels, the only way that I would see somebody going this direction for the $20 difference is somehow for that 1 ounce. If that 1 ounce makes that much of a difference to you, that you specifically need something that much light, that you can carry, that's, simply that, just lighter. But 1 ounce is so, God, it's so immaterial that it's hard for me to imagine that would be the deciding factor for you. But considering you can't disassemble it without, it's riveted, I would go the G10 model, almost simply for almost simply for that reason alone, I would go with the G10 model. The $20 is not enough for me to stay away from it, to stay with this one. And knowing what I know about BD1, I just couldn't do it. Now, if this were a different steel, it would be a different story. But that would be the same for this. So, you know, all things being equal, on this occasion and on this knife, I'm going with the G10, standard G10 model, which would be an S30V, over the Manix 2 lightweight. So I split the decision. The pair of three, I chose the lightweight for the average person jumping in to grab a knife, where on the Manix 2, for the average person who unless the weight was the critical factor, I would go with the G10. That's what I have to say about it, guys. What do you think? Let me know down below. Am I missing something huge here? I mean, again, remember, we're talking the out-of-the-box basic versions, not these two models in front of us. These are just what I have. As for this particular knife, moving on from the comparison, you know, it's very, very sharp. I can't do too much with the knife because it's not mine, so I can't speak too much on how well it cuts or anything like that. But I could tell you it is sharp. It's Rex 45. It's USA made. It's well made. It's just between my personal bias and the cost difference being only $20. And if you know even just enough to know that S30V is going to outdo BD1, the basic G10 Manix 2 wins, in my opinion. And it kind of is a hands down win to me. So that's what I think. And yes, all of the Manix 2s are USA made, USA made, as far as I know. And then considering that the aftermarket things you could do to it if you wanted to, the fact that if you're a hard worker, if you need to take it apart to really clean it, because granted, you could get in there and clean it with Q-tips and whatever, but it's just not the same. I don't know. I mean, there's definitely room for argument, guys. Clearly, this is very opinion-based, but my opinion would be for $20 more, I'm going with the G10 Manix 2. That's my thoughts. If you have different ones, or if you have anything to say or add or contribute to this, comment down below. If you like the video, please give me a thumbs up, and please consider subscribing. I'm trying to build the channel, and I need subscribers. Have a great day, and I hope I didn't offend anyone. Thanks for watching EDC Journeys. If you liked the comparison, give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Have a great day.